girl, I used to cry when I didn't receive the attention that I was looking for. My grandma would then put down what she was doing and come over to me and say, "If you stop crying, then I'll play with you." At this point, my problem was solved. I was now receiving the attention that I was looking for, but I couldn't stop crying. I would say, "Grandma, I can't." She'd say, "Why not?" And I'd say, "I don't know!" The reason, because I didn't know how to regulate my emotions. We often learn about IQ in schools, the intelligence quotient, but we don't hear enough about the emotional intelligence quotient, a very important topic that we should be learning about in schools. The state of South Carolina School Board should require public schools to have programs to teach emotional intelligence, not just programs to teach actual IQ intelligence. We're all in school to learn, and we all have been to school for a very long time. So while we're here, we might as well learn about some important things like emotional intelligence, not just IQ. I was trained in high school as a peer counselor on emotional intelligence topics and how to regulate my emotions and how to help others regulate theirs. And I've done lots of research on this topic over the past few weeks, so I'm excited to speak to you all on it today. First, I'm going to discuss the problem with a lack of emotional intelligence teaching in schools and how to increase emotional intelligence in today's society. Now that we know a little bit about what emotional intelligence is, the EQ, emotional intelligence quotient, I'm going to talk about the problem with a lack thereof. Youth face a variety of problems from not being trained on emotional intelligence. These issues include kids not being naturally emotionally intelligent, the educational system not being built to combat this lack of emotional intelligence, and the lack of growth later in life due to a lack of emotional intelligence. Children struggle to regulate their emotions. In 2020, a positive psychology article by Sutton stated that between the ages of 3 and 5, kids are still learning to regulate their emotions. They don't know how to stop crying when their grandma fixes their problems. They're just not able to have the same understanding of emotions that somebody that's trained on emotional intelligence later in life could. The current education system isn't structured to develop emotional intelligence and combat this lack of emotional intelligence from a young age. In 2021, MIMS posted an article on the NACSA website about how social and emotional learning is missing from South Carolina schools. We don't currently have any sort of program to combat this issue. Being emotionally unaware additionally hinders workplace growth in the future. In 2019, the Frontiers article by Gong stated that emotional intelligence positively affects job performance and decreases burnout. This goes to show you that when you're emotionally intelligent later in life, you perform so much better in a workplace setting, and when you're not, you just can't have the same kind of growth. Now that we've talked about the problems with the lack of emotional intelligence in schools, I'm going to propose a few solutions. Emotional intelligence should be taught in schools. First, I'm going to address the issue on a state level, then how we can institute it into schools, and then on a personal level, what you can do about emotional intelligence. The state of South Carolina School Board should require public schools to have emotional intelligence programs. In 2025, Middlebridge School posted on their website a blog about how they implemented emotional intelligence programs to be taught into their school daily. Their program utilizes real-time feedback, role-playing, improv theater, mindfulness and meditation techniques, and reflexive exercises to align with students' individual goals and needs. The curriculum goals are implemented in a customized manner on a 4 to 6 week basis, with units designed to practice communication, to raise self-esteem, to set goals, to develop values and identity, and to understand and label feelings and emotions. This program worked awesome for them, and I believe that it would work great for us in South Carolina as well. The State Board of Education should first train their teachers and then restructure the school schedules to teach emotional intelligence. In 2016, an AASA article stated that to teach kids these skills, you first must start with the instructors. If you don't know emotional intelligence yourself, how are you supposed to teach it to somebody else? So you may ask where the funding would come from to teach the teachers these emotional intelligence skills in order to teach the children. But in the South Carolina State House article about the South Carolina Education Improvement Act, we actually already have funding allocated for professional development. This is usually used differently every year, but this professional development funding should be used to train teachers on emotional intelligence. Now, on a personal level, you should seek out ways to learn about emotional intelligence yourself. I would recommend the Emotional Intelligence 2.0 book and the Emotional Intelligence Skills Workbook by Stephanie Catella and Matthew McKay. When working through this workbook, you can realize where you're lacking in emotional intelligence, and the Emotional Intelligence 2.0 book can help you get better at some of those skills. Clemson's Counseling and Psychological Services is also an incredible resource for you to use to learn more about this topic. My plan will work because school is the best place to teach anything. Where else in life are we going to have a blanketed time where we are all learning similar things that can be mandated? In 2017, in an NAEYC article by Tamini, he states that teaching emotional intelligence when you're young is the best time to teach it. When you're a child and you're still developing, your brain is still plastic, and it's going to impact you the most, so you can continue learning and growing in this topic. You also may ask where the timing in this schedule will come from, but in 2001, an Editopia article states that teachers actually say there is more time for academics because the children are no longer misbehaving as much and they're not spending as much time disciplining these kids that are acting out. This allows even more time elsewhere to dedicate to other things. The impact would be a world that's more enjoyable and highly functioning if we teach emotional intelligence from a young age. In 2001, the same Edutopia article stated that when emotional intelligence is taught in schools, the resultant behavior is miraculous. It is greatly improved. Hopefully now you understand the weight and importance of emotional intelligence and how it's vital to teach in schools. In review, today we talked about the problems with the lack of emotional intelligence, how to solve these problems, and further, the state of South Carolina should require the public schools to have programs to teach emotional intelligence to children. Because of my emotional intelligence training, I no longer struggle to regulate my emotions, but I can help others regulate theirs, and you too can do this with a little help from EQ. Thank you.